Joining me now is best-selling author Douglas Murray. His latest book on democracies and death cults, Israel and the Future of Civilization, has hit the shelves. Get yourselves a copy. Douglas, we had some extraordinary scenes today in the Oval Office where President Donald Trump, in front of the media, sought to shame the South African president with the ugly truth of the anti-white, anti-Boer racism and violence in his country. He played a clip showing, among other things, politicians calling for white farmers to be killed. Astonishing. Kill the Boer, kill the farmer. Douglas, the South African president, claimed that anti-white violence wasn't an issue, and then he was played a fairly lengthy video showing otherwise.
That's right. By the way, the position the South African president had there must be now the least desirable seat in any political meeting, I think. You could see in his face that he thought, oh, no, it's going to be Zelensky Mark II. It was a fascinating exchange. And of course, the denial from the South African government is not new. This is something that they have done for years. They've allowed the most appalling anti-white racism to go on in their country. They still, all these decades after the end of apartheid, find it very, very useful and indeed easy to allow anti-white racism to run rampant, and often with lethal consequences. I'm very glad that President Trump did call this out. It's maybe only President Trump among all world leaders really could have done so, and done so forcefully. But I would just look to the backlash that I would expect in the coming days from much of the media internationally, not just in South Africa, about this. I've already seen that, papers like The Guardian are saying, Donald Trump pushing conspiracy theories about the killing of white South African farmers. And I'd expect a lot more of that. They will join in the denial that the South African government has so gleefully engaged in for so many years.
Now, the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa brought golfers Ernie Els and Rita Panahi to the White House with him to, I guess, diffuse tensions with the Trump administration. We know Donald Trump loves his golf, but it didn't go well, Douglas. Listen here as Goosen recounts his own family's story, adding further weight to Trump's claims about violence against white farmers.
Yeah, some of these buddy farmers got killed. The farm is still going. My brothers run it, but it's a constant battle with farms they're trying to burn the farms down to chase you away.
And Douglas, you're right about the media. They're already in meltdown mode, trying to claim this issue isn't real, and the usual suspects are pushing this notion that any concern for this issue means you're racist.
Yes, well, that's something that much of the media has done for a very long time about that. There are even politicians in America today who are saying, why would President Trump push this issue as opposed to all of the other murders, massacres, human rights abuses that go on around the world? And there's an obvious answer to that, which is that there are actually a lot of people who speak about a lot of issues. Speaking about it and doing something, of course, two very different things. But what President Trump has picked up here is one of those issues which other political leaders do not want to talk about. There are always, as it were, popular human rights issues, popular human rights abuses for politicians to latch onto. Look at the way in which the French, British, Canadian governments have been obsessing for the last week, as indeed for the last 18 months, about the exact amount of nutrition that people in Gaza have had access to in recent days. They do that because of a constituency at home that they believe wants to hear that, and because they believe that it burnishes their credentials as people at the forefront of liberal human rights issues. In fact, it takes far more guts to do what President Trump has done today. And as well as all of the other issues that he's highlighted and that many other leaders have highlighted, highlight one that has been conspicuously ignored by people who would otherwise hold themselves out as great defenders of human rights around the world.